Okay, we are live. ¿Qué tal, amigos? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with this evening's live stream, 7:35 p.m. It is on mainland Spain, 6:35 in the Canary Islands. As we know, the 31st of July, last day of the month, new month starting tomorrow, the most important month as far as holidays and tourism is concerned in Spain. That's right, the month of August. We'll look at some of the main stories that have caught my attention today in the press. We'll take a look at some comments that have been left on the videos in recent times, and we will also go into the chat to say hello to the viewers who are watching this evening. We'll get straight into the news, and bad news for the platform Airbnb in Spain, because as we know, the Spanish government over the last year or so has been cracking down on illegal tourist rentals that have been posted on that platform. A little bit of debate as to how illegal rentals are posted on that platform, because you are supposed to register, but it happens apparently according to the government. And 65,000 holiday flats have been removed because Spain's government has ordered it, and there are thousands more flagged. Spain's Ministry of Social Rights, Consumer Affairs and Agenda 2030 has successfully compelled Airbnb to remove around 65,000 unlicensed tourist rentals listings from its platform. Additionally, the ministry has reported a further 55,000 listings that lack the mandatory official registration number, which has been required by law since the 1st of July. Although Airbnb initially challenged the measure in court, it reached an agreement with the Ministry of Housing 2 weeks ago to begin removing the offending listings from August onwards. This move is part of broader efforts to enforce national regulations on short-term tourist rentals. The Consumer Affairs Analysis Unit has since identified another 54,728 listings missing registration numbers. These will now be reviewed and either corrected or removed in line with current legal requirements. The action follows a May court ruling in Madrid that supported the government's right to enforce tighter controls on holiday rentals advertised through the platform. So there we go, thousands of listings on Airbnb removed, the illegal listings, people that don't have the proper paperwork done, the registration done, and the government going after another 55,000. So many illegal holiday rentals on platforms like Airbnb. Only Airbnb listed here. I think Booking might have already got its act together and got rid of these illegal holiday accommodations. But Airbnb a little bit slow to adhere to the rules and regulations, taking the government to court, but not successful as we saw there. So I don't know whether this is going to fix the housing problem in Spain, but it could be a step towards it. As I always say, time will tell. Second piece of news today, in Spain's main opposition party, for the time being at least, the Partido Popular, is putting forward its ideas on immigration in Spain. And as we can read here, they are planning tougher immigration with a policy shift. Immigration is not the solution, it says the PP. Spain's Conservative People's Party, the PP, is preparing a comprehensive immigration plan to counter the government's current approach, signalling a significant policy shift ahead of the new political season. Starting in September, the PP will move from rhetoric to legislative proposals aiming to harden immigration laws if elected to govern. The proposed plan includes stricter border controls in collaboration with the EU and reforms to toughen the penal code. Notably, the PP now supports the deportation of irregular migrants and even legal residents if they commit crimes, marking a tougher stance that aligns it more closely with the far-right Vox Party. The initiative, led by Alma Escurra, Deputy Secretary-General and strategist within the party, who previously outlined similar ideas through the Reformismo 21 Foundation. While the PP acknowledges that immigration can contribute positively to economic growth, it argues the government's approach also brings significant negative consequences that must be addressed through stricter regulation and enforcement. So the Partido Popular, the main opposition party, as we can see here, as I said, maybe not for long, as the other far-right party, Vox, is surging in polls, apparently because of immigration. We know that Spain has had some issues in recent times with migrants committing crimes and the like, and of course it makes a lot of publicity, or gets a lot of publicity, of course, and a lot of people maybe are swinging further to the right. So the PP having to change its stance because they're spooked by the party Vox. They don't want to get into a coalition with Vox if they can avoid it, but it seems that it might be the only way for that party to govern. So immigration key on the agenda there. And as we can see, tougher immigration policy being put forward by the Partido Popular, the deportation of immigrants if they commit crimes. And as we know, we can see that happening in some parts of the world currently, and some could argue whether it is successful or not. Third piece of news, and this one here: soaring supermarket and electricity costs are driving up inflation in Spain. Everyday essentials like groceries and electricity have become increasingly expensive in Spain, contributing significantly to a rise in annual inflation. According to Spain's National Statistics Institute, the INE, inflation in July reached 2.7%, up from 2.3% the previous month. This surge largely attributed to the sharp rise in electricity prices and food costs. Data from Spain's electricity grid operator, Red Eléctrica, shows that since a nationwide power outage in April, regulated electricity tariffs have jumped by 26%, rising from 108.47 megawatts hour to 136.77 euros per megawatt hour. While households on fixed tariffs won't see the increase immediately, they will be affected once their new contracts renew. The INE notes a base effect behind this inflation spike. Last July, electricity prices had fallen by 6% from June, whereas this year they rose. Although July figures are yet to be fully broken down, June data already indicated a 9% year-on-year increase in electricity prices, fueling a growing concern among Spanish households. So the cost of living crisis in Spain not giving up, as we can see here: soaring supermarket prices and electricity costs driving that inflation up. So not looking good for the average person living in Spain at the moment as far as their hip pocket is concerned, and their expenditures increasing on a monthly basis. So not good news there, as I said. As a result of soaring electricity prices, the government has announced today that it's considering extending nuclear plant lifespan if bills don't rise. Apparently, the Spanish government has signaled it may consider extending the operational life of the country's nuclear power plants, provided that doing so does not increase electricity bills for consumers. In June, Iberdrola and Endesa proposed revisiting the agreed 2019 shutdown timeline, which currently plans the closure of all 7 nuclear plants between 2027 and 2035. In response, Vice President and Minister for Ecological Transition, Seda Agassin, replied via a letter to the CEOs of both companies. She indicated the government is open to reviewing the closure schedule, subject to 3 conditions: no cost increase for consumers, full compliance with nuclear safety standards set by the Nuclear Safety Council, and guaranteed energy supply as required by the national grid operator, Red Eléctrica. The energy companies agreed to these terms in a joint letter later that month. They argue that sticking to the current closure plan could actually raise costs, with which prolonging plant operations might avoid. So the government backtracking, it seems, on nuclear power in Spain. The idea that the government has on the table is to shut down the 7 nuclear plants between 2027 and 2035, the no nuclear approach. that this current government has been pushing since it came into power back in 2017, 2018, I believe, but now maybe backtracking, as long as electricity bills do not rise as a result of nuclear energy. That is what the government has put on the table, so we will see if that is the case. So backtrack there, and maybe this is related to the blackout that Spain had a couple of months ago. I don't know. I've got no idea. I don't know, as I always say. Some comments we'll look at now that have been left on the channel in recent times by viewers. We'll take a look at this one here first from Andrea. The bull monument is such a ridiculous idea. Why not use the revenue to create a museum devoted to the bull and its cultural legacy in Spain? Visitors would learn about every aspect of bullfighting and why these traditions should be honoured but no longer practiced. Thanks, Andrea. Seems like a reasonable idea there. Dedicate the money that the giant bull would cost. We saw this the other day on the channel, of course. The Bullfighting Foundation in Spain has put forward an idea to build a 300-meter high or tall bull. Not sure exactly where it's going to go, but the city of Burgos was talking about it the other day because, of course, the deputy mayor of that city belongs to the political party Vox, which is the most pro-bullfighting party in Spain. They want those traditions to continue long term. And they suggested that maybe it go to the city of Burgos because the monuments there, of course, are a little bit outdated, probably, according to some people, and they need something new like a 300-meter tall bull. And to put that into some type of perspective, 300 meters tall, I think, is what was being touted there. We can see here a picture, if I can find it. If I can find it, let me see. Give me 1 minute. There we go. This is what the proposed bull would look like, and we can see there that that's what people would have to put up with on their daily commute every day, staring at this giant bull in whichever town decides to take it on. And there are some other cities that have put forward proposals to perhaps bring that bull to their cities because they think it would be a tourist attraction, bringing people from all around the world to the city to see that giant bull, like they would if they go to Paris to see the Eiffel Tower, or maybe if they go to some other cities, for example, I don't know, to see important monuments, maybe Rome to see the Sistine Chapel, for example, come to the city and see the giant bull. Another comment here also saying, if I can find it also, that it would I would not make an effort to go see a giant bull statue. So Detono saying there that they wouldn't be interested in a giant bull statue. But again, we'll put it on the screen to see what the proposal is. And would you like to have something like this in your city, this giant bull, which, as I said, the proposal, 300 meters, which I think might be wrong because I can't see how a bull could be 300 meters in height, because that is absolutely enormous, I think. But anyway, that's what we're dealing with the proposals being put forward by some people. We saw that one. Another one here from, did we see that one? Oh no, it's another one from T. Dono. When I was in Madrid last October, a burger at Five Guys was 15 euros just for a burger. I walked on by. I'd rather have Spanish food. Thanks, T. Dono, for the second comment here. And yeah, 15 euros for a burger at Five Guys. No doubt you walk past the Five Guys restaurant on the Gran Via in Madrid, which is probably the #1 tourist destination in Madrid, and people willing to put pull 15 euros out of their pocket to pay for that burger, which is absolutely ridiculous. Anybody paying 15 euros for a burger. We saw the other day that McDonald's, the price of a combo meal at McDonald's has reached an all-time high, around 11 euros and 60 cents, but at least you get fries and a drink with your burger, whereas in Five Guys you're forking out 15 euros for a simple burger, which, as I said before, absolutely ridiculous. and anyone who pays that for a Five Guys burger, no matter how good the burger is, and I'm going to say I can't remember if I've ever eaten a Five Guys burger or not. I think maybe once I tried a Five Guy burger, and I can't remember it, so it was nothing memorable, the Five Guys burger. So thanks for the comment there. And again, 15 euros for a burger. What are we coming to with those prices for something so simple as a beef patty and some bread and maybe a slap of cheese, ketchup and a bit of mustard? One here from Jill. I rather like your I don't know. You have no agenda. Have you thought of putting up a map when talking about regions? I like a map. Thanks, Jill. Yeah, somebody said the other day that I say the expression I don't know too much when I'm trying to sit on the fence with some ideas that are put forward, especially political ideas, because I have no agenda, basically. I get called things all the time on this channel. Somebody the other day called me a communist. Other people have called me a socialist. Some people have called me far right. Some people have called me moderate right. Nobody really knows because nobody can make up their mind, because I like to sit on the fence, and that annoys some people. Of course, I've got some opinions about something. I mentioned a couple of weeks ago my opinions on certain things which I don't think should happen, but of course I was set upon by people that do have an agenda, and there's plenty of them out there, whether they're bots or whether they're trolls, I don't know, but you talk about certain topics and bang, they come for you with their agenda. And if you go against that agenda, you get set upon, as we saw a couple of weeks ago. But thanks for the comment there, Jill. And as far as a map is concerned, maybe that's a good idea when talking about different regions in Spain. If you're not familiar with Spain's 17 autonomous communities or provinces, something like 40 plus provinces, I think. Don't quote me on the exact figure, but when we talk about, for example, Zamora, or if we talk about Burgos, or if we talk about Galicia, if we talk about, I don't know, Ciudad Real, where are these places in Spain located? A map could come in handy for people that are interested. So if we get some more support for that idea, Jill, we'll put it into practice here. Why not? Thanks for that. Another one here from Charles. Excuse me. Greetings from Penamacor, area of Portugal. These fires are caused by human stupidity. Thank God for the brave firefighters. Thanks, Charles. We saw this the other day, that many parts of Spain and Portugal are burning currently, have been burning for the last week or so. In Spain's case, for the last 2 weeks, thousands and thousands of hectares of bushland destroyed. People have been confined to their homes, to their towns, being told not to travel because, as we know, you can sometimes get caught in the middle of a fire in your car, and the end result is not pretty. So people being told to stay at home. And I think the latest news that I read today was something like 4,000 people are confined in a certain part of Spain. I can't remember exactly where it is, but fires in that part of the country still raging out of control. And Penamacor, very close to the border with Spain. In fact, I think it is the last Portuguese village before you cross the border into a part of Extremadura. I think Penamacor. Interesting place as well, with an old castle on top of a hill, and one of those Portuguese towns where there's not much going on. So I imagine that Charles is living in the area, not in the city itself, but yeah. And are they caused by human stupidity? A lot of the time fires are caused by human stupidity, but as somebody replied to the comment to Charles, saying that sometimes, for example, maybe lightning will start a fire, for example, and that could be the cause of the fire. But the ones in Portugal in recent times, I think, were being put down to negligence, human negligence. For example, people working with maybe heavy machinery. I don't know. Maybe some people are being not being careful enough with fires that they might be starting for whatever reason. I've got no idea. I remember in Spain, probably a couple of decades ago, there was a huge fire in Guadalajara because somebody decided to have a barbecue on a 40-degree day in the middle of a pine forest. And you can imagine the result of that. I think people lost their lives as a result of that fire. And because of that fire some 20 years ago, I think you can't have barbecues anymore in many parts of Spain in the summer months, which makes sense. And I'm sure that is the case in Portugal as well. But you never know when somebody wants to start the barbecue up, bring out their packet of charcoal, light it up, and sparks might fly, and away you go. Because, as we know, sometimes humans are not the most intelligent species walking around on the planet. Sometimes, I don't think, and that's why we do get sometimes these fires. Thanks, Charles, for the comment. And the final one here from Gwyneth. In the UK, I'd expect to pay at least £3.50 for one sweet pastry and €4 to €6 each for the savouries, depending on size. Coffees are £3 upwards. Thanks, Gwyneth, for the comment here related to a video that I did yesterday, or did it the other day, posted it yesterday, where I tried some savoury and sweet snacks here in Portugal. The famous custard tart, the Portuguese custard tart. And the place I went to also does savoury snacks as well. I had a chicken savoury snack, a sausage, and I think a cod savoury snack, and I enjoyed them, I will say, enormously. And the price was reasonable. I think for the sweet treats, around €1.40, €1.50 each, and €2.50, €2.60 for the savoury snacks. And the coffee was €1.40, and in the UK, you're paying £3, for a similar type of coffee, and £3.50 for one sweet. So yeah, here in central Portugal, it's still reasonably cheap, I would say. You can still get a coffee for a decent price. You can get a bottle of beer, small bottle of beer, for a decent price, although restaurant prices have gone up quite a lot over the last 5 or 6 years due to inflation. It's amazing how many restaurants you go to and you see on the menu that the prices have been rubbed out or whited out and written over the top, the increasing prices. And sometimes, or especially when inflation was out of control, they were busy rubbing out the previous prices and increasing the prices basically on a monthly basis to get to the stage that we are at now. And other restaurants you'll see in the summer months, they do exactly the same thing. They'll sort of rub the winter prices out and put the summer prices on there. And because, as we know, when the tourists start to come in, they're willing to pay more for their food and drink. And that's what happens in many parts of Spain, and both Spain and Portugal at the moment, with the increasing inflation and the constantly changing prices at restaurants. Rather than get new menus printed up, just rub the prices out with the old white paper or whatever it's called, liquid paper. What's it called? Liquid paper, and quickly write over the top the price that you want to charge. Now, we're going to go into the comment section in just a moment. Before I do, a few things that I need to put on the screen. Let me just organize this here quickly. The live chat is what we're going to go into, so we'll get to that in just a moment. Before I get there, I'm going to put the like button on the screen. If you haven't hit the like icon yet, please do so. Just below the video, you will find it. We're currently at 69 likes. So we'll see if we can get up to a decent tally. We'll see if we can get over the 75, maybe 80 mark, maybe 90 mark, maybe 100 mark today as far as the likes are concerned. Also, people that want to send me stuff, whether you've got some information to send my way, whether it is a newspaper article, whether it's a picture that can go on the backdrop. When I get my green screen set up again, please feel free to send your pictures through to that address, spainspeaks@gmail.com. Or, as I said, other information that you would like to send my way. Alan, for example, sent me something today, interesting to read. Marcus sent me something yesterday, interesting to read. So send that through. I think Marcus's was related to the to the tourism industry on the island of Mallorca, or the Balearic Islands, which we're getting contradicting reports coming out this year. Some people are saying that the traditional tourist businesses are not going as well as they would like, but the all-inclusive holidays on Mallorca seem to be the flavour of the month at the moment. So if you've got any information that you would like to send my way, feel free to send it to that email address. People that have supported the channel in recent times, John, for example, bought me a coffee the other day. Thanks for that, John. I think John has left the chat, so we'll get to that in a moment. Super thanks here on YouTube. People that buy me coffees as well, thanks for that. Comes in handy. And also the Patreon supporters, the longer term supporters on Patreon, thank you very much for that continuing support. And the channel members, let's not forget the members of this channel helping to build a community here. Thank you very much for that support too. Now, I think that's just about it. I also need to put on the screen the Buy Me a Coffee QR code, which is the easiest way to buy me a coffee if you want to help the channel that way. Now, let's go into the chat section. Let's see what's bubbling away there. Didn't see much activity in the chat when before I began, so it might be a quick chat section today. Let's see. John, just mentioned John, who bought me a coffee. Thanks for that, John. Missing the live tonight, so we'll catch up later. All the best. Thanks, John, for that. Charlie also adding his 20 cents worth there. This is an outrage. I bet Big Hotel is behind this. Yeah, referring to the Airbnb listings that have been removed forcefully by the government because they don't meet government requirements. Obviously, you need to get your property registered with the government, make sure that you're paying your taxes, your registration fees, and all of those things to keep the government ministers happy. And Airbnb being forced to remove those 65,000 with another possible, I think, 55,000, as we saw there, that the government is currently looking into. So I don't know how many properties are going to be left on the Airbnb platform by the time the government finishes with it, but some 120,000, I think, would be the total amount if the government gets its way. Or the owners of those illegal, we'll put that in inverted commas, illegal tourist accommodation decide to register their properties with the government. I think that's what the government wants to do, and this is the way they're trying to do it. But as we know, it's not easy to keep tracks on this type of thing, and I'm sure that Airbnb will do everything it can to try and keep as many places on there as possible. So we'll see what happens with this. We'll keep an eye on it, because as we know, these tourist rentals have been popping up like mushrooms over the last few years, especially post-COVID. I've noticed that here in Portugal as well, when we first came, well, not really when we first came here, because there was no such thing as Airbnb back then, but even as as recent as 5 or 6 years ago, you could count the number of Airbnbs on one hand. Then all of a sudden, bang, there was an explosion, and they're everywhere. And yeah, so people have got in on the act. Al is also in the chat. I just mentioned Al before, sent me an email before. 31 degrees there in El Puerto de Santa Maria. Heat is being tempered by high winds and a caña of El Águila sin filtrar. Thanks, Al, for that. El Águila cerveza sin filtrar. Yes, another beer that is not at the top of my list. I don't despise it like I do Cruzcampo, but not at the top of my list. Andre here in the chat. Thanks for the continued updates. Much appreciated. Thank you, Andre, for tuning in and watching the live streams or other updates that I do. 3 times a week, I think, or is it Sunday, Tuesday? Yeah, 3 times a week with these live streams. I enjoy doing the live streams because it's a chance to connect with the community. Geordie is in the chat here too. Hello. with a W there, from Catania. Thanks, Geordie, for that. Izzy, coming in from South Florida. Good to see you, Izzy. Seen Izzy a few times in the live chat here. Speaking of someone we see quite often in the live chat, Kev. Evening, Stu and all, from the shower, getting rid of a lot of dust from some DIY. Mind bleach is available. Should you be suffering that image? Thanks for that, Kev. I didn't really give it too much thought, to be honest. If you want to give some mind bleach, send us some this way. Somebody came is in the chat from Colorado, United States. Any updates on the 100% tax on purchases of previously owned properties? No updates, I don't think. Somebody came. As far as I know, I haven't seen anything in recent times being mentioned about this, but I'm sure when politicians get back from their holidays, August is a 0 month as far as politics and anything happening is concerned, because they're all away at the beach or whatever they do in their for their summer holidays. So we won't get anything until September, when the new political course, as they call it in Spain, starts again. So we'll see if it's high up on the government's agenda, this 100% proposed tax, which did make headlines when it was first put out there. Renan is in the chat too, coming in from a sunny Los Angeles, California. Thanks for that. Good to see you, Renan, I should say. Hedge, is that Hedge or Hedge? No, it's not going to fix the housing problem. Thanks, Hedge. Very blunt there with that opinion. Not going to fix the housing problem. I'm sure some people would agree with you, but the government, of course, is desperate to fix the housing problem that they haven't bothered to do anything about for many, many years. And then when the problem gets too big, all of a sudden these issues come a bit too late. It's like with Airbnb, right? Airbnb is not a company that was set up yesterday. It's been around for a long time, but on the 31st of July 2025, the government decides to do something about it. Could have been done a long time ago, but when it comes to the speed at which these internet companies pop up and start to dominate markets, and the speed at which governments work, we're dealing with completely different ways of working. The way the government works, which is slower than a wet week, or the way that these internet companies work, which is very, very fast. Very, very fast. And no government can keep up with it. Erica's in the chat here from a hotter Terrassa, Catalonia. Cats and Erica feel a bit flat out, as temperature is flat. In flat is up to 30 degrees. A bit flat out as temperature in flat. 30 degrees there. Seems that that this coming weekend there will be more storms, crossing her fingers there. Yeah, I think that is a part of Spain that needs water, Erica, as we know, more storms. Hopefully we won't get those severe downpours that we got a couple of weeks ago that basically bring a lot of water, but also can take lives, which and destroy property, which we saw a couple of weeks ago, or 3 or 4 weeks ago. Charlie here saying, nice to see the Partido Popular actually doing something it's supposed to do according to its supposed political values. Bet it's mostly because of Vox and its support. Probably, Charlie, that is the exact reason for the PP's slow reaction. I said before that governments react slowly. The Partido Popular is like a snail when it reacts to things, it seems. Very, very slow indeed. And they don't want to get their pants pulled down again by Vox. As we know, before Vox came on the political scene in Spain, they were all happy in that political party. They were patting each other on the back. Very good job, Miguel. Very good job, Manuel. Well done, Jose. And then all of a sudden, the people further to the right then the more moderates in that party said, why don't we set up our own political party and try to take votes away from these guys here and perhaps become the most important opposition party in Spain. It's happened in Portugal with the Chega political party, which is virtually a copy of Vox. All of these parties have very similar ideologies and very similar statements that they put out. And the traditional conservative parties, or right of centre parties, if you like to use that terminology, getting caught out because they are too moderate for some people with regarding certain things. That's the issue. YouTube is saying, hi Stu, in Portugal, Spain or Portugal, which one? Well, I only spend holidays in Portugal, YouTubers. Whenever I can cross the border, I do. I enjoy the time that I spend here enormously. Portugal is a great country. But I read an interesting article the other day in the Guardian newspaper. I know that will trigger some people, but the Guardian newspaper, there was an article written by a person living in Lisbon who is now questioning the move that they made there as a foreign resident to take advantage of Portugal's tax breaks for foreigners and the impact that it's having on the local economy and the political consequences that it is also causing. So Portugal is in a difficult place at the moment, trying to work out which way it wants to go forward. And cities like Lisbon are becoming virtually impossible for the locals to live in. So that's the issue that we've got, and we can see the same thing happening in the big cities in Spain too. Digital nomads also being blamed for the changing face of Lisbon. And I will say that I went to Lisbon pre-COVID, I think, 2018, 2019, and I went there last year, and a lot of differences. A lot of differences. Antonio is saying you can't deport anyone without a fair trial in Spain. It's not true about the PP. They know they can't deport anyone before trial. After a trial, they can if the law says so. Thanks, Antonio, for that. Just putting out what I saw in the newspaper, Antonio. I haven't gone too much into it, of course, but as we know, the PP needs to put out this type of soundbite, if you like, to try and bring the people that have separated from the flock, if you like, back into the PP ranks. Sunny coming in from Basingstoke, hoping everyone is well. Thanks for that. Thundery there. Maria saying beautiful. Thanks for that, Maria. Not sure what Maria is referring to there, but Charlie also saying here, instead of a bull monument, they could make a Reconquista monument, but the proposed bull looks fabulous too. Thanks, Charlie. Charlie liking the massive bull. In some people's opinion, it's a load of bull. But anyway, we'll move on. YouTubers saying that are houses and flats in Portugal better than in Spain? I've been told the Portuguese use good concrete blocks in buildings as opposed to silly terracotta bricks in Spain. Thanks, YouTubers. All I'm going to say with my experience here, and I'm not a master builder, so I don't know, I can't give you an expert opinion on this, but from what I've seen, even with home renovations, with building techniques, they do it very, very well here. I don't know why that is, but they seem to do very, very well when it comes to building. Very, very good quality. In Spain, from what I've seen, it doesn't necessarily seem to be the case. So again, is it the building techniques? Is it the qualifications that the people building have? I've got no idea. But I have seen some shoddy buildings in Spain, and here as well, I'm sure shoddy buildings exist. But from what I've seen in recent times, looking at the new constructions that are going up, they seem to be finished very, very well, and very, very good quality and well built. That's what I'm going to say. Whereas in Spain, unfortunately, my experience, not the same, but just my opinion. Geordie saying, time to leave Spain, to left. Thanks, Geordie, for that. Not sure where we're going to go, but thanks for that. Checkbound saying 300 meters is the height of the Shard skyscraper in London, so it must be a mistake. I thought it was a mistake as well, but I went back and checked the article and it definitely said 300 metros de altura, which translates to 300 meters high. So either somebody doesn't understand what 300 meters is, because even 100 meters high, in my opinion, would be a lot. So 300 meters? But anyway, it's just an idea that's been put out. I don't think it will ever come to fruition. Antonio disputing, houses are worse in Portugal, but you're right, the average temperature is lower. Again, from what I see here, Antonio, the building techniques and the way they finish houses and the way they put them together are better from what I've seen. But again, just my opinion on the new builds. Kieran's saying, hola Stu, don't know what's more bull, Spanish politics or a giant statue. Well, again, the giant statue, Kieran, I don't think, and pardon the pun, I don't think it'll get off the ground, I don't think. I don't think so. I don't think so. YouTube is saying it's rubbish in the middle of wherever. They could spend the money to house some homeless squatters instead. They could do. But of course, private foundation money. They want to erect the giant bull. I think that's the idea. But again, if this idea ever gets off the ground, I would be surprised. And if it's ever as big as they say it's going to be, I would also be surprised. But yeah, could they spend the money on something else? But again, private money, I don't know whether they would want to. I think the councils would come in by providing the land. But again, could they provide that land for social housing? Maybe they could, rather than a giant bull. What else we got going on here? Let's have a look. Five Guys has a decent burger, but I agree it's a bit pricey. There's a mum and pop sports bar up the road from me that has a better burger at a reasonable price. Yeah, again, the burger might be good, El Conquistador, but 15 euros for a burger? 15 euros for a burger? You buy a kilo of mince and make 10 burgers for that price. But anyway. Portugal has good coffee. It does indeed, Maria. It does have good coffee. Portugal is a coffee drinking culture. People here drink coffee morning, lunchtime and night. I've never seen a group of people drink so much coffee. Never. You'll go to a bar or one of these coffee shops here, 11 o'clock at night, and they'll be sipping a little espresso coffee. Bing! So obviously no sleep issues. Maybe there is. I don't know. But I've never seen a group of people knock back as much coffee as the people here. What else we got going on? Let's have a look. Fluttergirl coming in from a grey Toronto. Fence sitting is neutrality. Nothing wrong with that. Oh, my opinion, of course. But people love to see these radical ideas exposed and reinforced. That's what people are looking for. If people have a certain point of view, they want their points of view reinforced by somebody on the internet. And you can get plenty of that. I see the videos people on this channel watch. There's a little thing that says your viewers are watching these videos, and I'm going to be honest, they're personally videos that I wouldn't watch. And I say, well, why are people watching these videos when I sit on the fence and they're watching some of the other stuff where people are definitely not sitting on any fence and speaking, I don't know whether you would say absolute rubbish, but again, you could easily come to that conclusion. Czechbound, here in Prague, inspectors found some restaurants had a price on the Czech language menus and a higher price on the English language menus. Yeah, Czechbound, thanks for that. I know that there's a very interesting YouTube channel. I think it's called the Tourist or Travel something. A couple of guys, young Czech guys, making videos about all of the tourist scams not only in cities like Prague, but around Europe as well. Can't remember what it is, the travel guy or the tourist guy or something like that. And an interesting channel, and they're exposing these places that are basically ripping off tourists in cities, as we said, like Prague. And I think this is one of the things that they did highlight. I think it was. Or maybe they said that it wasn't the case. I can't remember exactly what happened, but I know that they did a video on that. So check those guys out. If I can't remember their names, but you can look for them up. Prague tourism on YouTube. They'll pop up. A guy wears glasses. Speaks English quite well, I will say too. Larry's coming in from Cabo Blanco in Tenerife. Good to see you, Larry. What else we got going on here? Oscar's saying here that you're very close to 100,000 subscribers. Well, I would have hit the 100,000 subscriber mark a long time ago if I had have done what I've been doing in recent times and asking people to subscribe. I've never been doing that, but the most important metric on YouTube is not subscribers, contrary to popular belief. It helps, but it's not the most important metric. Anthony coming in from a very hot Algarve. Yeah, it's even quite warm today where I am, Anthony. There's no wind, so it's quite warm. Charlie saying that he's not actually outraged. It's just funny to say. Thanks for that, Charlie. Geordie again saying time to leave Spain. Again, where are we going to, Geordie? Don't know. Too many taxes. On the people, they don't want you there. Yeah, that could be true, Geordie. I've never seen a country that likes to tax people like Spain. Sad, yes, sad. But the government has that mentality, and people play along with it. Again, I don't know whether it's the best country from a tax point of view. Checkbound also saying here, sorry, I'll just clear my voice. The negative impact short-term rentals have on communities. I only stay in hostels or hotels or hostels, so I prefer the hotel tax and don't support a property that should have a local in it. Thanks, Checkbound. That's one thing that we could do, but again, the majority of people are not interested in that type of thing, or not worried about whether a local or not should be in their property. But good to see that you are. Kathy coming in from Xeraco, player there, Xeraco, I should say, Valencia, Spain. So glad I made it to the live stream. Pray all is well. Thanks for that. Politicians all go away with their mistresses for August, just like me. Thanks, Charlie, for the comment there. Patrick also saying yes for maps. What else? That could be an idea. Bring maps into the equation. Kev saying can't leave Spain now. Up on roof terrace, surrounded by amazing mountains, low sun, blue sky, lovely breeze after a day dealing with amazing Spanish people. Whatever it costs, it's worth it. So Kev is all in. What else we got going on here? Let's have a look. Tipex. Yeah, I think we used to call it liquid paper. I think back in the day when it first came out. I think Tipex was a brand, was it not? Liquid paper, I think was maybe the brand was liquid paper. To be honest, I don't know. But it did come in handy back in the day. And it still comes in handy with those restaurants, let's be honest. Bob is in the chat. Greetings from is this sudden crackdown on Airbnb actually a smokescreen to cover the government not achieving the house building target they set themselves? Don't know, Bob, but there's plenty of smoke screens put up all the time. All the time. Smoke and mirrors, as they say. But you could be onto something, Bob. Erica, last week I heard Abascal speaking in so-called French, saying that whatever. I felt ashamed that someone was capable of advertising his knowledge of French. Couldn't understand a word. He's daring. Yeah, he is daring, Erica. I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. Kieran's saying, what's the state of social housing in Spain? Is it widespread or limited to major centres? Well, there's a huge deficit when it comes to social housing, Kieran. That's basically the problem. The government doesn't or hasn't built much social housing for a long time. And it will also depend on the local council that you're living in as to the amount of social housing as well. So it's a huge problem, but the private housing has been the norm, I think. We've got a super chat here from Czechbound, 200,000 Czech kronas is that? Not sure what the currency is in the Czech Republic, but thanks for that. Some support for the cause. Interesting live stream. Greetings from Prague. Thanks for that. Greatly appreciate it and your input on the channel today. Thanks for that. According to several web sources, the Shard is 309.6 meters, says Helen. Thanks for that. Another monument, I think, is the Shard. Kev saying, check those guys out, Stu. Yep. Thanks for the play on words there, Kev. Honest Guide, that's it. Yes, that is the one. Well worth a look. They do put out good videos, I will say. Interesting content and keeping people aware of all of the scams that are going on in these tourist centres in Europe, not only in Prague, of course, but I'm always surprised to see how many scams are going on in that city. They had an interesting video, I think maybe a couple of months ago, they published it about these businesses that have popped up, and you see them in Madrid, you see them in Prague, you see them all over the world now, or maybe only in Europe, I don't know, that sell these sweets, or lollies as we call them in Australia, and they're really big in size, and they're really expensive, enormously expensive, and they're bang smack in the middle of the popular tourist destinations, and people walk in and buy 50 grams or 100 grams of these candies or lollies, whatever you want to call them, and they're getting absolutely ripped off. And I think they did an in-depth report on a TV show in Spain about these places, and the people behind them are there's nothing illegitimate about the businesses as far as I know, but the honest guides were trying to point out why pay 10, 15, 20 times as much for lollies when you can just go to the supermarket and buy a packet, get exactly the same thing at a reasonable price. So smart business people taking advantage of the unwary tourist. El Conquistador gets some decent coffee from the Nespresso machine. Yeah, that is true. They do make a decent coffee, the Nespresso. Fado or flamenco, which one? YouTuber says. I don't really have a preference to any of those, to either of those two music types there. YouTubers. I don't really like flamenco, and I'm not a huge fan of the fado, to be honest. I think you have to be Portuguese to really understand the true sentiment of the fado, just my opinion. And again, with flamenco, not for me. But anyway, I understand people like it. Eric is trilingual, English, French, Spanish, felt as insulted as when Atnar spoke in English. How shameful. Yeah, bringing back some memories there, Erica, when Mr. Atnar thought that he was a fluent English speaker. And I don't know how he could do that, to be honest, stand up in front of so many people and try and speak the English that he spoke. Candy stores, that's it. They sprang up in the West End of London, and it was discovered they were money laundering fronts for criminals. There we go. Yeah, the business in itself, I don't think is illegitimate, but what they're doing behind the scenes, as you point out here, might be. I don't know. I've got no idea. But the ones in Spain, they are making a lot of money. That is true. That is true. What else we got going on here? Let's have a look. Kevin's saying I'm more thrash metal. Not really, Kev. I like a bit of different variety of music, a little bit of pop, a bit of country, a bit of whatever. I don't mind. AC/DC? Yeah, probably. Back in the day, a bit of AC/DC. And Charlie's saying, nothing shameful about speaking foreign languages. I do it every day. There we go, says Charlie. No, nothing shameful about it at all. But when you are a politician and you're on an international stage, you would like to think that you dominate the language that you're trying to say to get your message across in a foreign language. Now, I'm going to wrap the live stream up. It's been a pleasure, as it always is. I'll be back again on Sunday, hopefully, with another live stream. And hopefully I'll see you guys there for that one too. Have a great weekend, or a great start of the weekend. And bye-bye for now.